Yeah, thank you, by the way, that was, that helped me a lot. I found it to be very integrated for my purposes and clarifying too, and I really, really appreciate you doing this. But I have two little questions, I think. One of them is, I didn't pick up on where Bracken's shortcomings were in terms of, the Whitehead philosophy. And I thought maybe it was the way he tried to enhance the philosophy or build it out. And my second thing is, you seem so into it that I don't understand where you are not a process theologian. And so I would like to hear.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me start with your second one. In a broad sense, I'm a theologian who accepts the process of becoming character of nature. But process theology, technically speaking, is identified in various ways so that it can lead to confusion. Since Whitehead himself did not think of God as creator ex nihilo, creator of the world out of nothingness, but saw God too much as kind of the consequent or the resultants of this cosmic process. I differ very much from him on that point. I'm very traditional in my view that God takes the initiative and the world responds to God. So that's where I differentiate myself also. And secondly,
But you like the drama of the whole thing, the way
the drama. But the second place where I differentiate myself from some process theologians, not all, and I'm with Joe on this point, Joe Bracken. Whitehead himself did not deny subjective survival after death, but it was not a big thing in his understanding of human destiny. It's okay for him as long as God saves us in God's memory. That's enough for him. That's enough for his student Charles Hartshorne and others. It's enough that God provides objective immortality, as it's called. Whereas for me and for Joe Bracken, and for many other people who get their concept from Whitehead, I can't be consoled by the idea that I'm just objectively immortal. Subjective immortality seems to me to be quite consistent with process categories. But Whitehead himself did not, I don't want to say he didn't allow for it, but he didn't make much of it. So those are the two main ideas. And since these two ideas are so important, the idea that God takes the initiative and that we have a personal destiny beyond death are so important for Christian faith. I want to hold on to those. But at the same time, I think it's time that we struggle, and it always is a struggle, and it's an unfinished struggle. After all, if the universe is unfinished, theology is allowed to be unfinished too. So all the imperfections that take place around us are a function of the fact that we live in an unfinished universe. I want to be able to integrate that into Christian theology. Otherwise, theology becomes intellectually irrelevant to many people. Not everybody, because not everybody's interested in science. But people who take evolution seriously, and take contemporary cosmology seriously, and at the same time want to find substance in their faith tradition, I think you need to do something along these lines to make that adjustment. And that's sort of what I've been trying to do in my own writing over the years. I know that what I write doesn't make sense to most people, but I have a pastoral interest in those intellectually alive people who have found that Catholicism, for example, simply does not meet their intellectual needs. I think this is a scandal that this is not happening, and this is why I dabble around with these possibilities of integrating. I want to formulate a theology in which there is not the slightest attempt to deny anything that has been found out by good science, but instead to integrate those discoveries into a wider vision. And in doing so, you actually widen your understanding of God as well. A God whose love includes 200 billion galaxies and perhaps a multiverse is a much more worshipful God than the one planet deity that so many of our religious traditions are fixated on. So that's something theology has to work out. So. Did you